Welcome back. Well, let's take a look at what's happening in the world of commodity and currency. And Manisha Gupta, as always, joins us for more. Manisha, good morning. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much for that. The major cues, of course, are coming in from the G20 summit, where we have seen some positive statements finally come in. If you look at the crude oil prices, those have surged 4% in Asia, and that's because the U.S. and China have agreed to a truce in the trade conflict at the G20 meeting. The U.S. says it will not impose additional tariffs for the next 90 days, while the talks are expected to continue. So the fresh talks clearly are aimed at reaching an agreement within that stipulated time. In the meanwhile, the OPEC meeting begins today at Vienna, and the OPEC and the allies will meet on December 6th now to decide 2019 output policy. So ahead of that, we are looking at stronger cues. The equity markets in Asia have seen some strength, so most of the commodities are taking cues from that. Not just the crude oil prices. If you look at the metal space, we have seen a jump in Shanghai and the LME exchanges. You are looking at copper prices up 2% in Shanghai. Zinc is surged by nearly 4.5%. So with the US and China agreeing to halt additional tariffs is done wonders for the sentiment in the global markets right now. And we've seen buying come in because of that. Also for metals, it is about the Chinese pollution concerns. 79 China cities have triggered air pollution alerts. That means you might see an output curb coming in from any of these smelters and metal plants, and that has been supportive as well.
Right, Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Crude as well as metals. Metals doing well, and crude ahead of that OPEC meet is higher by about 3% as well. So in that light, it is important to see what took place in the equity markets, the F&O space on day one of the December series, which was Friday's trading session. In the index futures space, the FIs bought about 200 odd crores. They sold in the cash markets, remember, on day one of December series. And the FII longs, which stood at around 51% at the start of the series, moved mildly higher to about 52%. The big data point, however, came in from index options. 1,522 crore worth purchase in index options. Out there was call buying to the tune of about 22,000 contracts, but there was a lot more put buying to the tune of 48,000 contracts. Remember, there was some selling as well. Most of the calls that were bought were sold at higher levels, so we will keep an eye out on that one. And there were puts which were written to the tune of 15,000 contracts too. Why such high numbers in index options? That's because the street is bracing itself for a lot of events that are going to take place. First up, today we will be reacting to the Trump-Xi meet, as everyone has been talking about, the Q2 GDP data, November car sales data as well, and the fiscal deficit data. So those are the data points we'll be reacting to today. But through this week, we have the RBI policy meet, we have the OPEC meet, and we have state election results as well. So that is a data-heavy fortnight, and which is why a lot of positions are being taken in the index options, perhaps a hedge on the lower side. So what are these levels we're watching out for? Currently, 11,000 call has the maximum open interest. So on the upside, that would be the first port of call. And at the reaction level support, we're seeing anywhere between 10,700 to 10,750. That's primarily the 200-day moving average, and a lot of puts have been written at those levels. So that's as far as the index is concerned.
Okay, so that's as far as the index is concerned, but let's talk about some stocks, and Sonal is here to tell us some stocks that are buzzing, that might buzz actually on account of some news. Sonal, good morning.
Hi, good morning, Anisha. Well, I'll start with IDBI. That stock will be in focus because it has received several downgrades from India ratings on various instruments, so not a good news coming in for the company. Cadila will also be in focus because Zydus has received final approval from the US FDA for teriflunomide tablets, so that is a positive news. SBI will also be in focus because there are reports that suggest that the bank will be selling 3 accounts to recover dues worth 2,111 crore rupees. However, this is not a verified report. And also some of the power companies will be in focus, like Tata, Adani and Torrent, because the companies in Gujarat might raise tariffs of power units because they are hit by the hike in the coal prices. So something that will be watching out for. Apart from that, some stocks will also be in focus because of some positive brokerage action on them. Nomura has written on Indian Tire after Jefferies. They've initiated coverage, and they think that the tire industry is on the cusp of a revival. So they've initiated on Apollo Tyres, Seat and Balkrishna Industries. Nomura has also written on Glenmark Pharma. They maintain a buy. However, they have hiked the target price to 850 from 825 because they think that there is strong domestic growth for the company.
All right, Sonal, thanks a lot for that. So those are the stocks that we will be keeping on our radar in today's trading session. With that, we've run out of time on this edition of Power Breakfast. You stay tuned to CNBC TV 18. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.